Padres Hot Tub is a listener-supported community podcast, and you can become a member of that community. All you got to do is go to patreon.com/Padres Hot Tub. Why would we ask you, person who's either watching on YouTube or listening to the free feed, to give us money for this show? I mean, you can just type, subscribe and listen to the show. Well, you can listen to this show, but we have expanded our programming greatly in 2025, and it's all for our patrons. Post-game shows after wins, even sometimes after losses, group therapy shows weekly that are recorded with our patrons, in front of our patrons on our Discord, and they get all of those shows. Those shows are for them, not for the free feed. Check it out for $5. $5. Come on, $5. Give me a break. Patreon.com/Padres Hot Tub. I guarantee you can audit your life and find 6 different things in the last month that you spent more than $5 for that you probably didn't need or you didn't enjoy. Consider $5 to help the 3 of us. And of course, there's higher levels too. There's $12, there's $30, there's higher benefits, there's all sorts of things. But it's a great community. I think you'll like it. And I think you'll like the products that we create. And $5 at the end of the month, you'll go, oh, that wasn't a bad 5. That time that I went to 7-Eleven at 2 a.m, oh my God, what did I buy that time? Whoops, that was bad. But this one, it won't be. So check it out. Patreon.com/Padres Hot Tub. Welcome to the Padres Hot Tub, everybody. Craig Elston, Chris Reed. Rafi Cantor sends his regards. He is a national traveler. Once again, jet setter, national traveler, moving, grooving, writing words, getting his name listed as the primary writer on season 2, episode 10 of Poker Face. I think once that writing credit came out, Chris, Rafi just officially decided, too cool for school, don't have to show up on Sunday anymore.
Yeah, he has done 0 main shows since his credited episode release. So definitely a pattern to watch.
Hard facts right there, Rafe. Yeah. Just, it's up to you. Just like it's up to the Padres core hitters, as we'll discuss later in the show. It's up to you, Rafe, as a core contributor to turn things around. All right, very, very quick housekeeping before we get into an episode that I hope won't be too bleak, but we are where we are in the season right now for the San Diego Padres. First up, Chris, for our patrons, PHT breaks, new one coming up soon.
We have one imminent, basically. We're trying to fill it right now. It's the Padres Hot Tub Summer Potluck, and that's exactly what it sounds like. We're going to have a table, a digital virtual table that you come on in, you plop down what you would like to bring to the party, and what we'll do over the course of one afternoon. We are targeting the first week. We are targeting that July 4th weekend. Not sure we're going to get there, but we'll open it over the course of 3 or 4 hours. And if you're a baseball card collector from the 90s and aughts like I was, you might not have heard of breaks. Basically, the idea is that boxes are so expensive now. It's a little burdensome to buy the whole thing, and especially if you only collect a team or 2, that's a little rough. So what you do is you split them up, and you assign each person in the break a spot, and that spot usually corresponds to one team. But we're going to be doing it a little different this time. It's pretty self-explanatory. It sounds complicated, but it's not. If you're in the Discord, head on over to the Baseball Cards PHT Breaks channel, and I'll happily help you get started and get you in on this one, because it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of time. We're going to be spending a lot of time cracking wax, and I can't wait.
Second and final thing in housekeeping is that busy boy these days with 3 regular podcasts, including Chris and I have restarted the television streaming review podcast called Crossing Streams. So I had been doing that with a rotating group of co-hosts from really I want to say late 2019 till the end of 2023. And then last year, I took it off when I was doing the radio show, but it's back now. And Chris is working with me as a regular co-host. So please, if you used to listen to it or if you thought about it, check it out. Available wherever you get your podcasts. Crossing Streams is back. This week, we talked about Netflix's Department Q and offered some very early thoughts on The Bear, which next week we'll be reviewing season 4 of The Bear. So check it out. Join us for the ride. Get a lot of great TV commentary, get a lot of great TV recommendations, and for the shows that you enjoy that we cover, you get that conversation that you usually can't have with your coworkers because they never watch the same things as you. So that's Crossing Streams. Also, if you're a San Diego FC fan, you know that team that's leading the Western Conference and just got 9 points in 3 matches on the road? That team. I'm also part of a brand new San Diego FC podcast called The Cromaniacs. Check it out. It's myself, Tony Sanchez from San Diego Punto Football, and Alex Pena, who's a member of our Padres Hot Tub Discord, but also writes a Substack called Chromatic FC. We cover everything San Diego FC. It comes out on Thursdays. It's available on YouTube, and it's available wherever you get your podcasts. So Cromaniacs, Crossing Streams, Padres Hot Tub. What do you need? Anything else? Unsubscribe from everything. No, you can listen to whatever you want, but please subscribe.
Yeah,
to us.
you don't need that Pod Save America. Yeah, you don't need Mark Maron. Those guys are washed.
We're based. They're washed.
Yes.
Okay. Housekeeping done. Thank you for your patience. You might look back wistfully at the golden times before we had to talk about the Padres. Okay. So Padres have been in survival mode, Chris. We talked about it on the last main show with Rafi and myself. 13-13 through that stretch of 26 games in 27 days. And then you looked ahead in the schedule and you go, my God, nothing's getting easier. A road trip in the middle of the summer to Cincinnati is a tough place to go. Going to Philadelphia in the middle of the summer is usually death. And then you're coming home for a 3-team, 10-game homestand before the All-Star break. No breaks in it. And it's Texas, Arizona, and the Phillies. So, I saw this coming from the beginning of June. We knew it was going to be 6-7 weeks of really, really tough baseball. And so before we get into all the minutia, critiques, questions, concerns, I do want to still frontline that. From 13-13 to 14-15. But that's not dead. That's not out of it. And so far in this set that I probably will accept 500 when it's all said and done, they're still kind of right there.
They're still right there. They're second place in the NL West. And when you look at all the teams that they are going to be competing against, not just in the division, because they're already 7 games behind the Dodgers in the division, the second highest lead in Major League Baseball behind the AL Central. But when you look at their wild card competition, there's nobody standing out. There's a lot of teams that can go either way. We're going to see them fall in and out the second and third slot over the course of the next month as they play ball and as some teams get hot. Like right now, the Milwaukee Brewers are the hot team. They're 8-2 in their last 10. So they're a half game above the Padres. Padres are 6-4 in their last 10. Cardinals, same thing. They're a half game ahead. They're a full game ahead of the Padres after today. They're 7-3. So they're playing the hot ball. The Padres are right in the thick of it. But they have two other teams, the Giants and the Reds, within a game and a half of them. In that 4 not in the playoff spot. So it's going to be thick. It's going to be contentious. Buckle up. This is how Major League Baseball playoff structure is going to conclude our seasons every year from here on out. And that what they did in the beginning of the year, getting off to that 7-game win streak, it's allowed them to have this in the budget. Now, is that budget starting to get stretched? Like, are they picking up the phones and going through their Rolodex and looking for investors who might be able to help them get a few more things in post? Yes, they're doing that. Like, that budget, as far as wins, losses goes, it's just about gone, the surplus. and you're a 4-game losing streak from being in a really tough spot. But that's not where they're at. They've been playing competitive ball. They've been playing dead average, mediocre, baseball, 500 baseball for a while now. And that's kind of how we had them projected before the season started. When we learned Martin Maldonado and Jason Hayward were the plans, we filmed our predictions episodes and we sounded a little fretty, a little anxious about where things were going because we saw stretches like this coming. And with the back third of the lineup being as bad as it is, and with our stars performing as boringly as they have, we're going to find ourselves in stretches like this.
Well, see, that's the thing. Again, they're hanging on. But I think you Padres fans who have known this podcast for a long time, and I know we still get new listeners, every show, every week. But for the folks who have been there for the long haul or followed me to and from radio, I think you know that I like to keep it straight with you. And at the beginning of the year, I kept it very straight with some really serious optimism. I thought this was a damn good team. For over 40 games, which is representative of half of the games played for the Padres this year, they rank 29th in the league in OPS and slugging. They are low in OBP. I think they're 26th in OBP, 30th in slugging, 29th in OPS. They haven't been a struggling offense. They've been a bad offense. They've been a bottom 5 type offense.
Yeah.
For a while. And the thing that truly concerns me, and I think this weekend's games perfectly crystallized my concerns, is that the way the Padres have been winning is unsustainable. You cannot count on your bullpen to preserve every 1-run lead. You can't keep scoring 1, 2, and 3 runs and say, well, we've got a starting staff that doesn't have Michael King, doesn't have Yu Darvish, has Dylan Cease half in, half out, doing the hokey pokey every time he gets up on the mound. The rest of the rotation is filled with guys that have very little major league experience and run hot and cold, just depending on how they get out of bed the day of their start. And we're going to ride that across the finish line. And in doing so, we're going to outpace teams like the Giants and the Reds and the Brewers and the Phillies and the Mets, all the teams that are in the race with us here, the Diamondbacks. We're going to outpace them all with a bottom 5 offense, an average defense, and a pitching staff that just nuts up just over and over and over again. Every once in a while blows up, but otherwise just converts every tiny little lead. And every once in a while we'll nut up a win, but most of the time we're just going to, hey, we got 2 runs. You need to win 2-1 or 2-0 today. I mean, anything else won't do. And that's what the Padres, honestly, Chris, have been doing for so long now that it's starting to feel like the identity of the 2025 team. And I pray that it's not. Yeah. I perpetually will be reminding myself, you, and everyone else that in 2024, the team was 50-50. 50-50. And that's further along. That's a few weeks further along the road. The Padres are still in a better position. They still are. But doggone it, Chris, it feels like they're just hanging on right now. Like they're pulling lucky wins and then getting deserved losses. And if they continue along that route, it's not going to finish well.
I don't want to say lucky wins, but I would say that they have had games given to them and they happily accept them. They're not quite giving them away. And that's how they, honestly, that's how they wound up with series wins against the Nationals and Royals. Like they
Bingo.
never outplayed those teams.
No, literally the Nationals threw away a game.
Yeah.
In there.
And the Padres managed to not. My sample size is a little bit smaller than 40 games, Craig, but I did my stat head search around 30 games just to pull up what Padres regulars have been doing. And it's awful. it makes me stunned that they've won the games they have in this time frame, because the team has 5 regulars ish, if you include I guess you can't really include them regulars, but Tyler Wade has gotten 70 plate appearances. Brandon Lockridge has gotten 74 plate appearances. Martin Maldonado, 78 plate appearances. Elias Diaz, 80, and Jose Iglesias, 86. None of those guys have an OPS above 550. Brandon Lockridge, who is not even on the team anymore, is the only one who had a batting average over 200. Martin Maldonado has a 159 batting average. Tyler Wade, Craig, our guy, who we've embraced and said is, he's got to be on the team. He fills too many holes. He's too valuable. And, that's not a roster spot you want to go away with. He's got a 148 batting average, has looked really bad at the plate, a 416 OPS. Now that's the guys that aren't, I misspoke, not necessarily regulars, but semi-regulars. Like, they're in the lineup 3 to 5 games a week, with the exception of Lockridge, and Bryce Johnson has kind of taken his spot, and Gavin Sheets is playing left field. Do you think we have a hitter the past 30 games over an 800 OPS?
A hitter in the last 30 games with an OPS over 800. Boy, I think Sheets would be the only guy that would have a shot.
Sheets and Machado are the only 2 guys with shots, and neither of them are doing it. Machado's got a 770 OPS, 262 batting average, but he has hit 7 home runs. Gavin Sheets, 751 OPS with a 250 batting average, with 3 home runs. Like, that's decent production, but that has been the Padres' highest production. Those are the guys that are absolutely going. Jackson Merrill doesn't have a 700 OPS. Tatis doesn't have a 700 OPS. Xander Bogaerts
has never had a 700 OPS. I mean, like, except for maybe like 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah,
he's out hitting Nando over that time. No, they're tied. Excuse me. Both 669 OPS. Him and Nando are tied. So, like, Xander, you don't want him to be that production, but that's kind of who he's shown who he's going to be. Tatis, man, like, just that 400-point drop really explains everything with the Padres, doesn't it? Like, the first month,
yeah,
they're 12 games over, and now back down to, what are we, 6 games over?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's the 400-point drop from Fernando Tatis Jr.
That's one of them. And don't worry, the concernometer is warming up in the closet. It's about to get wheeled out, and we're going to wrap up talking about our concern about those. But you had those numbers. I just wanted to make sure I had mine right. This is in the last 40 games. Again, major league ranks. The Padres rank 26th in runs per game, 28th in homers per game, 26th in average at 227. Before that, in the first 42 games, they were 2nd in the league in average.
Wow.
Okay, 2nd to 26th. On base has gone from 7th, 333, to 29th, 294. Slugging from 11th, 400, to dead last, 349. And as a result, OPS has gone from 11th, 733, to 29th, 643. And the thing that seemed like it was the Padres' identity earlier in the year, 2-out hits, driving in guys with runners in scoring position, keeping the line moving. First 42 games of the year, team was 12 games over 500, and they had a 282 average with runners in scoring position. Since then, 6 games under 500, 212, and that actually went way down today because the Padres went 0 for 13 on Sunday with runners in scoring position in a 3-2 loss to the Cincinnati Reds. That will be blamed on Robert Suarez's 3rd blown save, and it will be blamed partially on Xander Bogaerts' leg cramp, forcing him out of the game, forcing Wade into the game at third base, where he failed to catch a corkscrew off of the end of Ellie De La Cruz's bat. That I'm telling you, man, that was a 10-pitch at bat against a monster. And around pitch 8, I knew the result of this at bat is going to resolve the inning. Like, if Ellie gets on, it's problem.
You needed the out.
And for the 10th pitch to squirt out of Tyler's glove. I read the post-game story from AC, disconsolate in the locker room afterwards, last guy to leave, sitting there, doing the classic 1,000-yard stare. Like, I get it, man. Tyler cares about the team, but he didn't make the play. But I don't care about any of that. The Padres had 13 cracks with runners in scoring position to bring in runs against a Cincinnati Reds pitching staff, and they did not do it one time. I mean, the run they get in is when Iglesias hits a Baltimore chopper that was just too slow to be a double play. Otherwise, that's a double play. So, it's really this pathetic offense that's dragging down a great pitching staff, putting way too much stress on the relievers, way too much stress on young starters. And that will lead to a 2021, I don't know, complete collapse, but it will lead to a pitching staff falling apart down the stretch if the Padres can't get this offense right.
I completely agree. And where are the systemic answers? We've heard about Vic Rodriguez's, line drive, hit the ball where it is approach. And last year that led to them leading the league in batting average. And great. All right. Your approach is working, right? This year, as you just pointed out, did you say they were 24th in batting average the last
26th.
40 games? That's awful. And if you're trying to get that batting average high at the expense of extra base hits, at the expense of home runs, and you're having this result, it sounds like your personnel don't match the approach. And it's time for something new, or some new people, which aren't coming by and large. The top 7 guys in the lineup, that's probably not changing. So something's got to give. I don't have the answers. Not a swing doctor. When I see these guys up at the plate, I don't see guys, lost. I don't see guys not in the game. They're working a fair amount of walks, and Jacob Cronenworth is always good for a good at bat. But at the same time, the results have been so lackluster and painful and tough to watch that something has to give. And I do feel like it will just naturally within the ebb and flows of the game. But I would love to ask the scouting department and the coaching department, what's working right now? Like, of your messaging, what do you see that you go, hey, that's turning out all right? And what's being done about the stuff that isn't? Because that seems to be outweighing the stuff that is.
Saturday's win needs to be generally credited to Gavin Sheets, who had 3 hits, got 2 doubles off of Andrew Abbott, got a 3-run homer off of a reliever, Richardson, to give the team the lead. And on Saturday night's postgame show that you and I did with Rafi checking in, toward the very end of it, we were kind of talking about lineup improvements, and I mentioned how, for a playoff lineup, you generally wouldn't want Gavin Sheets to be playing every day all the time against left-handers. A couple people brought to my attention, and I do just want to note for the record that for like 2 weeks, Gavin Sheets been hitting lefties pretty well. And you could make a narrative argument that all this work he's getting, playing all the time, is raising his level. And that, today he did it again. He got a couple of hits off Lodolo. These are pretty tough lefties that he's been staying square to and getting hits off of. And this could just wind up being Gavin Sheets' breakout season, where he breaks out to being an everyday player in the major leagues. AJ Preller had to fish in the bargain bin basically for every catcher on the team, for a DH on this team, for every player in the left field position on this team. And he mostly missed, some giant misses. But Gavin Sheets, man, he might have a 3-year everyday starter in this player.
Happy to celebrate Gavin. I'm happy for it. I saw that his road lefty splits are even better. And, maybe there's something to be said for that. I still think optimally, there's a better right-handed bat in this lineup. And Jose Iglesias, 478 OPS last 30 games, so that's in 90 plate appearances. He ain't getting it done. Like I don't want to be the negative thing, so I'm glad you brought up Gavin Sheets. And we got to yell at him a little bit in a fun way at the Sweet Life game. So like I'm definitely in the Derry Bonds fan club, and it's worth pointing out he's been the club's second best hitter again over that time. He's carrying a lot of offensive weight, and all the while kind of in one of his downturns of the season. Like he's been hotter at other times. So I still think that you want him in like an 80-20 platoon, giving him days off, because his body also has never done this. He's never played left field nearly as much as he is right now. So God forbid he puts his face into the wall again and you lose Gavin Sheets. So I feel like some rest for him would be appreciated, and that would require better personnel behind him.
It's the same thing. Again, we're not trying to keep balanced on this, but there's unsustainability to what the Padres are doing right now. You can't have Tatis and Arise and Merrill and Bogarts all be dragging on the anchor and expect Gavin Sheets to be the wind that fills the sail to allow the ship to continue to move. It's not going to sustain long term. You need your guys to stop dragging down the offense and start lifting up the offense. And when they do, Sheets can be carried along with them. And then if he did have a September where he wore down, you could survive it because you could have the rest of the guys be thriving and clicking. If you don't get those guys' production back, you're just not going to make the playoffs. So the Padres have to get those other guys going.
And they definitely needed it, especially after the prior game, where I was very close to doing a post-game show, regardless of who else was available, because Nick Martinez, Bulldog Nick, of our former friend of the show, went into the ninth inning pitching a no-hitter, and I was fully prepared to go on air and celebrate him and mock the Padres for getting no hit by him in the event that had happened. But thankfully, Elias Diaz graced us with hitting the ball with the bat, which is a rarity. But he did it, and but they weren't in that game at all, like one single bit. Like it felt like Tyler Wade should have been pitching in that game.
He actually should have been pitching in that game. And that might have given the Padres some optionality today that they didn't feel like they had. But in reality, they didn't want to do that against a no-hitter because the Padres aren't the Dodgers. The Padres aren't the Dodgers. And I don't mean that from just like haughty looking down, I'm ripping the Dodgers. The Dodgers are ruthless. They're the Borg. They're relentless and ruthless, assimilating the league to their needs. And they are perfectly happy to mock their team, their fans, and everybody who paid a ticket and have Kike Hernandez pitch 2 1/3. And the Padres are too proud. They're going to throw David Morgan out there, and they're going to leave Tyler B. because Nick Martinez is throwing a no-hitter, and they don't want to turn it into a mockery because they've got their friend out there throwing a no-hitter, and they want to beat him fair and square. Even though they took out Tatis and Machado, they still want to beat him fair and square and put the players up there to beat him. And whether you'd like to say that makes them a slightly less efficient organization or not, that's up to you. But that's just the way that the Padres do business. But the thing that I would take away from Friday's game is yet another clunker from Dylan Cease, who stunk and could only finish 4 innings and is not clicking into second half form and has not backed up his couple really good outings by turning it into a streak. And honestly, I already said in the last show with Rafi that I think Dylan's going to get signed by the Dodgers because it just makes sense. Who do you think is going to sign Dylan? I know it won't be the Padres. And I'm honestly, I hate to say it. I'm not going to miss him when he's gone. Like, he's been a real disappointment to me this year.
I'm not going to miss him at all. He's the while Blake Snell was a Padre, especially his first year, he developed a thing amongst Padres fans in our Discord who, you know, the saying was, I hate watching Blake Snell pitch. And I never agreed. I always thought he was entertaining even when he wasn't good. But I understand what they mean now, because I can't stand watching Dylan pitch. It's so frustrating to me to watch a guy with the ball that moves as much as his does, with the velocity he has, with the tools he has, just, you know, walk guys needlessly, you know, just kind of give off these non-competitive at-bats. It's very frustrating, and it's just kind of amazing that on a team that has had such great performance from its pitching staff. I mean, the numbers wind up being kind of mid for the starters, but you'd expect that when the majority of your rotation is Kolek, Bergert, and Randy Vasquez. But Dylan Cease needed to be a lot more than he's been this year, and, you know, I don't know who's going to sign him. It's going to be somebody who can afford a fairly high AAV. I think Dylan might have cost himself 9 figures this season, because he leads Major League Baseball in innings pitched since 2000. And really all he had to do was be good. Like, if he would have put up a 1.5, 2 pitching WAR this year, which he still could be on pace to. I'm not
the
positive
F4 is going to bail him. I'm telling you, Chris, it is. He's still going to
2 F4. That makes no sense to me.
He's going to get the highest contract of the winter. He's going to be the highest paid pitcher of the winter. And it's just whether the Mets or the Dodgers or the Cubs or the Braves or out of nowhere the Giants want to sign him.
I don't know, man.
Coming here. He's not staying here.
Gallen's a free agent, and I would prefer Gallen over him, even with Gallen having the rough year. And no, the Padres aren't going to sign him. I think Logan Gilbert's going to be a free agent. I think he's cost himself a lot of money, because yeah, sure, he can be on the mound, but with how he's performed this season, I don't see anybody dedicating the sheer amount, the volume of money that a multi-year deal would get him. I think he'll get a good AAV, but
the durability is going to get him paid. And here's the thing. Not everyone else is watching him pitch every day. It's the same. Again, we watched Blake. And I just want to say, it's June 29th as we record this. What has Blake Snell done for the LA Dodgers in 2025?
He's a wonderful ambassador to the digital community.
He's done jack shit. He's done jack shit. And you know what? Last year around this time for the Giants, you know what he had done for them? Just about jack shit.
JS?
Yeah.
We're talking about Juliet Sierra.
You know, and Dylan and Blake Snell still got the money. Dylan shows up every day. In his way that he does, he shows up for every start. Until that arm injury happens that hasn't happened in his career, he's going to get paid. But I'm going to look forward to watching him pitch for someone else, because I don't think he's got more than a $20 head. He's got $1 million arm. And I think he's a really cool cat who I'd probably really enjoy talking to. But he's never developed a third pitch. He's trying to be a reliever as a starter years and years into it. And that means his slider has to be perfect and his fastball has to be perfect. And if either one is not perfect, then it's going to be 4 or 5 innings, and it's going to be 3 or 4 runs, and it's going to be 8 strikeouts, but it's going to be 3 walks, and it's going to be walking the 9 batter on 4 pitches to get to the leadoff hitter. It's going to be just the crap that Dylan Cease does. And the only solace that I would take if the wheels fell off for San Diego in the next 4 weeks would be the opportunity to move him and get something for him, because you just cannot move him from a team that's contending at all. You can't. But you could, but I don't want it. So I'm not expecting it. I'm expecting to live with him for the rest of the year until we offer him that end of the year deal that he turns down, and then signs elsewhere, and we get a draft pick.
While we're on it, like, since we're talking deadline, it's that time of the year where the algorithm starts to dictate that baseball chatterati shows bring up the trade deadline, and you start seeing the AI driven pieces about the blockbuster deal your team is going to do. And Jim Bowden like goes into his opium den and locks the door behind him.
Yeah, and he emerges. And Aaron Rodgers are in there just trading recipes, bro. They're just fucking trading recipes for chicken. It's wild.
And they come out with something. I just want to put out my opinion, and it's that the Padres, like, sure, if they lose 20 of the next 30 something games before the deadline, maybe. They're not going to do that. They haven't been that team all year. They're not going to. Like, they're going to play the ball they've been playing, which is mediocre, around 500, and they're not going to be sellers. And anybody trying to, like, edge you on that, trying to give you that little bit of a ride, like, they're doing it because it feeds the algorithm, and it feeds engagement. The Padres, their business model dictates they fill their stadium. That doesn't mean selling off their pieces. And frankly, they don't have the pieces. Dylan Cease, like, his performance this year matches a lot to Jack Flaherty's performance last year for the Tigers. And they put him up for trade for about a month, even though the Tigers had this amazing comeback in the second half after they traded Flaherty. And all they got in exchange was the Dodgers, I want to say, their number 8 prospect and their number 15. That's what you're getting for one of the best starting pitchers on the market last year. Dylan Cease is pitching worse than Jack Flaherty pitched last year. Like, even if you get that return, that's like the ceiling of it, folks. Like, the scenario of the Padres selling, if that's what you're rooting for, you're rooting for 2 19-year-olds who aren't going to play in the major leagues at best case in 3 years. And that's what you're getting for Cease. The only other piece I can think of that they have that a traditional seller would unload would be Robert Suarez. And it's the same exact thing. You're not getting a lot back for him. This isn't 2023 when the Padres had a whole litany of valuable pieces on expiring contracts to unload. They don't have that this year. And so they can't be traditional sellers. From that standpoint, everybody else is underwater from a value standpoint. You think they're going to get anything for Wandy Peralta, for Yuki Matsui? No, it ain't going to happen. So, like, this dream of restocking the farm system by pulling the plug on a year, like, that was 2 years ago, guys. That ain't this year. The conditions aren't right. The current isn't going down and in where the fish are sitting there waiting for your sardines to come floating by. The current's going out to sea, man. There's nothing out there.
I hear you. And I think the biggest point was the one you made at the start. Like, I think if the Padres lost 20 or 30, they would still not sell.
I agree.
I think they'd probably have to lose like 17 of 20. Something like that. They'd have to go on a Sacramento A's kind of run. You know, where they just went tank. Oh my God, you look back from 2 weeks, you're like, we're so far underwater. It's just been 2 weeks. You know, all of a sudden we're 6 games under 500. What's going on? You know, I don't see that happening either. Although, like I've said from the beginning, I'm not going to waver. The Padres are just hanging on right now. So if their pitching staff went south, they would lose a whole bunch of games in a row. They would, because they'd need their offense to carry them. And that's the 29th ranked offense in the league for half a season now. Okay. With that, Mike Schultz made multiple lineup changes over the course of the last 2 programs that we've done.
Boy, has he.
And the one that he's settled on right now is Arise 1, Machado 2, Merrill 3, Tatis 4. We talked about this on the last postgame show, which went only to our patrons. So on the main feed, I just wanted to reiterate the one key argument I have against this, which is that I think you're taking two very important players in your lineup and you're marginalizing both of them. Luis Arise is just not a leadoff hitter. Now, today he drew a 4-pitch walk. Congrats. Really, the pitcher gives you a 4-pitch walk. But he gets base hits. Luis Arise has a low on base percentage. His on base percentage for the season is .311. That's not a leadoff hitter. That's a guy that you want lower in the lineup. But it gets much worse. His on base percentage in May was .304, and in June it's been .298. So now we're getting to Kansas City Royals, Alcides Escobar, .280 with a .298 on base, needlessly leading off for a bad offense. And if you want to counter and go, that Royals team won the World Series, I'm like, cool, maybe we will too on some stupid ass rally. But it's not what you want. But more importantly, how can you put a singles hitter? The only thing he gives you is singles. And the guys he's supposed to drive in are Tyler Wade or Jose Iglesias, Jake Cronenworth, and Elias Diaz or Martin Maldonado. Like, those guys are never on base. So when you put Arise 1, you're almost guaranteeing that he'll never drive in a run unless he did what he did on Saturday and hit a solo homer.
And even if they do, it'll be like today, where they're on their second and third, 2 outs, and he doesn't get the job done. I'm sorry, Luis Arise this year has not been Luis Arise of years past. Like, I don't think I'm being unfair saying that. And like, that even has to go with his clutch stats. I mean, he just hasn't been the guy who makes you hurt for giving him a fat pitch at all. He hasn't been the guy. And they did the lineup like it was almost like Mike Schilt was so close to doing everything I wanted when he had Arise hit batting cleanup. And he may not be the prototypical cleanup hitter, but him at his best hitting fourth is just as valuable as him at his best hitting leadoff for all the reasons you just said. Because you don't get the on-base percentage bump from a more selective hitter. You advocated Jake Cronenworth, and his on-base percentage has to be 60, 70 points higher than his batting average because he's more of a selective hitter, and Arise isn't. So it was very frustrating to see them do the perfect order of Tatis, Merrill, Machado, Arise. Give that 2 games where they average 5 runs a game, and then just take that baby in the tub and just huck it out the window with the bathwater, like seemingly again on no sample size whatsoever.
Now, and I want to make a deeper point about Arise, but I got to finish the point about the lineup. So, okay, as Chris just said, if Arise is hitting 4th or 5th, his singles, almost by definition, are driving in runs. Unless all the guys in front of him, which are your best hitters in the lineup, aren't succeeding. His hits are going to have an opportunity to drive in runs. And Luis Arise has historically been tremendous with runners in scoring position, where he focuses on getting line drives. We'll get back to Arise in a second. Let me talk about Fernando. At the beginning of the year, when Mike Schilt put Fernando Tatis Jr. in the leadoff spot, everyone screamed hallelujah, and why it was clear that Fernando was the ideal leadoff hitter for the team. Because you're giving one of your best players the most at-bats, you're giving your most dynamic player the most at-bats, you're giving him an opportunity to both lead off a game with a home run or drive in players at the bottom of the lineup with a home run, but also to get on base and steal bases, where he's the fastest player and the most possible base stealer on the San Diego Padres. When you put Tatis 4th. Now, keep in mind, Tatis for 5 weeks played like an MVP, and then since then he's played like a battle replacement level player, minus the great defense, as an offensive hitter. And only recently did he hit a couple of home runs. So his timing's been off, his hitting's been off for a while. Since basically May 2nd, his hitting's been off, and it's June 29th. But when you put him 4th, now think about it. Again, by definition, when he's coming up, if the guys in front of him are doing anything, okay, there's runners on base. He might be able to drive him in, but he's not hitting for power right now. He hasn't for months. But when he gets on, when's he going to be able to steal? At the very best, he has to get on with nobody on in front of him to have a base open, but then Gavin Sheets is up. Do you want to take the bat out of Gavin Sheets' hands by running?
We saw it today where Bogarts had left. We saw the one scenario where Tatis will have the green light, and that's when Tyler Wade is in the game with his 440 OPS the past 40 games. Like, that's the one time you get to see it.
Exactly. So I really dislike the idea of putting Arise 1. And then and Arise has not been good for a while. He had a 5-game decent streak. Maybe it was 8 or 9 games where he got a few hits. But still, all of a sudden, now you're putting him in a spot where his hits count the exact same as a hit by pitch, a walk, or an error. They're essentially meaningless. They're just an on-base point. So now if he does get on, now Manny's up. The double plays in order, right? Because Arise is always on first.
Yep.
Luis can't steal. And now we got Manny up at the plate. Now, Manny's been ice cold since the configuration change. It doesn't mean anything, but he has been. He's like 2 for 26 or something now.
We don't know if it means something. It could. Very well
could. Probably is meaningless, but point is, still, I don't feel like he's optimized there because there's no more than one player on base and the double plays in order. Now you got Merrill third. And is Jackson hitting like a 3-hitter right now? I mean, he's bringing no power to the game. And now you got Tatis 4th. I much preferred Tatis 1, Merrill 2, where he can get a fastball with Tatis on first base trying to steal. Manny 3, where he's got a chance to hit a 3-run homer. And then, honestly, I think we both agree we'd like Sheets 4th, Arise 5th. But the point is, let Arise hits do something down in the order. So if you're going to make it 4, make it 4. But this configuration has been a dud, was a dud again today. And I think when you put left-handed batters 1, 3, 5, right? Arise, Merrill, Sheets, right?
Cronenworth. Yeah, it was 1-3-5-7 the other game.
And then you got Maldonado or Diaz, kind of the auto out at the bottom of the order. I just feel like other managers are given super easy lanes if they have a good left-handed reliever on their team, or if they have multiple left-handed starters and relievers on their team, that they give this team easy lanes to say, don't pitch to this guy, throw to this guy, don't pitch to that guy, throw to this guy, take care of business, and you'll move the Padres merrily along.
It also goes to the bench, man. The bench is so barren. There's just nobody there.
Yeah.
Where that you can take advantage of them switching out. The Padres don't have a bench player with a OPS over 550 like in the past month and a half. That's insane. That's insane that it's gone on as long as it has.
Is David Peralta on Brandon Belt's boat?
I think he is. Are
the two of them just hanging out going like, hey, we're league better than average bats?
Yeah,
just chilling?
They started a fishing show, and it's on TikTok, and Peralta handles one side of he handles the left-handed turns. Brandon Belt handles the other ones. I don't have the answers, man. And AJ's solutions haven't hit this year. We talked about it going into the year. You know, all the dice came up in 2024, and it didn't seem likely that they were going to this year. And it's been the exact opposite. You have one dice, one golden weighted, beautiful milk-like dice, and Gavin Sheets, and then everybody else. Tyler Wade, Brandon Lockridge, Connor Joe, like they've all been just brutal, dude. And like I know the trope with the team is that you need the stars to play like stars for them to win it all. That isn't happening. It would sure be nice to have the backup of having a few solid depth pieces. And you know, whether those are gone because of trades and you don't get them because of mistakes in the past, or whether it's just allocating resources in a really weird way coming into the offseason. I don't know.
Here's a brief interlude from all of our gloominess, because my personal algorithm just notified me that we've talked a little bit too ill about a team that's been hanging on. So I do want to note one positive that we kind of skimmed right past, which is that Stephen Kolek was dynamite today. Through into the sixth inning.
Almost didn't want to see him get taken out, Craig. I was a little like,
But what I wanted to bring up, and honestly, I want to give Bob Scanlon a ton of credit by being the guy who got the TV truck to point it out and then alerted it to the TV crew, was that Stephen Kolek / Ruben Niebla made a huge tactical change going into today's game. They decided to pinball him from the right side to the left side of the rubber, dependent on the hitting side of the batter. So Kolek is now throwing from the third base side, or the right side, looking in from the center field camera of the rubber, left field side, or left side if you're looking from the batter's box, but the third base side of the rubber against righties. And now he's moved and he's putting his heel on the first base side of the rubber against lefties. And lefties went 0 for 9 against him today, had awkward swings. His two-seamer was really effective against...
It stays in the zone so much longer.
Yes. So that change is a huge unlock, potentially, for Stephen Kolek. And this kid, who was a Rule 5 pickup last year that hung on as the 13th pitcher for most of the season before he Phantom IL'd his way across the finish line, has turned into a potential 5-year starter for the San Diego Padres. He could be a 1,000-inning pitcher. He could be an 800-inning pitcher for the San Diego. He could be a 700-inning pitcher for the San Diego Padres.
You're British. Tone it down a bit.
Yeah, and it's still really good. Like, we could get that many innings from a guy for a Rule 5 pickup and actually have him be a viable mid-rotation starter. He kept the Padres in Sunday's game. So, I mean, they get their ass kicked if he has another one of those blow-up innings that he's fallen victim to. But young pitchers that show great stuff and have blow-up innings, that's like watching somebody who's like really coming into it as a golfer but has that one hole where it all falls apart. And you're like, well, just get rid of that hole, you know? And like, you're going to be playing scratch golf. That's where Kolek is. He's a couple adjustments away from being near elite. And today might have been one of those adjustments. If the Padres make the playoffs, they are making the playoffs on the back of Stephen Kolek, Randy Vasquez, Ryan Bergert, hopefully tomorrow Matt Waldron. These guys who aren't expected to be good starters, that have delivered the B-War for this team. They've delivered the goods over the course of this season so far. I don't know if they can finish it, but they've done it so far.
Padres need to show up for Stephen Kolek. Like, his offense has not been there at all. He's lost a couple games where he didn't give up an earned run, and he's had 2 quality starts that he lost because the team just didn't give him any offense. I hope that they're looking to this young dude and feeling like they need to do a little bit better for him, because they're 4-7 in his starts, and he hasn't pitched like that. He hasn't pitched deserving that. I mean, he's had 2 outings that were real blow-ups, giving up 5 and 6 runs to the Mariners and to the Marlins. They won the Marlins game because that was against Ryan Weathers. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, and this is why I don't really worry too much about that 2021 scenario completely, because that was the year that we got into the Jake Arrietas and whatnot. I don't feel like we're gonna be at risk for that as long as these young dudes stay healthy, which they almost definitely will. So keep that sinker ball sinking and that slider ball sliding, because both of those pitches with those adjustments, they stay in the zone a little bit longer. It makes them a little bit more competitive, and guys don't seem to hit it that hard.
And he's already got the sweeper against righties. So it's always been about what could he do against lefties. And making this adjustment maybe allows him to be a two-way pitcher effective against both sides. And if he is, then you're approaching all-star status and $100 million contracts and all the other things that you get for being a great starter in the big leagues. So if the Padres turn Stephen Kolek into a great starter in the big leagues, or even a good starter in the big leagues.
Yeah, he just needs to be a 3, man.
Yeah, that's such a gigantic organizational win. Keep in mind, we said in the winter, we thought the whole season depended on getting Roki Sasaki as that affordable mid-rotation star.
The whole decade relies on it.
Right. Like everything depends on getting this affordable guy for the next 5 years that can be right in the middle of our rotation. Well, what if it's actually Stephen Kolek instead? You know, baseball God works in funny ways. So let's see what happens. But
Kolek, hat to him.
Good news. Kolek, good news. Padres wrap up this road trip in Philadelphia. They're going to face Christopher Sanchez, who matches up well against them. Zach Wheeler, who matches up well against everybody.
Anybody in the world.
And Nick Abel, who's one of their top prospects. We'll see how that plays, but that'll be the last game of the road trip. That'll be a day game after a night game. That'll be, who knows. I was not bullish on this road trip, and they're 1-2 right now. Padres got to find a way to get a win, if not 2 wins, out of Philadelphia. They're going to give the ball to Waldron. Then it's going to be Nick Pivetta. Bad ballpark for Nick Pivetta. He can tell you, he pitched there for years.
Yes.
But at least it's Pivetta revenge tour magic potential. And then you got Dilettante Dylan on Wednesday. So, just throw the 6-sided die and see what happens with Dilettante Dylan.
But with the Phillies lineup, Dylan could strike out 12. Like, he could give up 4 home runs, innings, but he could strike out 12 along that. Bryce Harper ain't playing. We take that every single time. But Kyle Schwarber is, which is not great for us because we've seen what that dude does. They're talking about extension talks with him, which is a shame. I would love to not see him play baseball anymore. Like, I was kind of hoping he might just retire, Be like, it's been a good run, everybody. Kyle Schwarber out.
I decided to stick around, jerk. Okay, so that's what's coming up. We'll have post-game shows. If we win, we'll have group therapy along the way. Hopefully, hopefully we'll all make it. Rafi will be back by Thursday. We're going to wrap up, though, with a concernometer. And Rafi has submitted his numbers from Chicago. And this is today's concernometer topic. We've plugged it in to the concernometer. The prompt goes like this. Will player X get back to their norms before season's end? Or will they fall short? A 1 on the concernometer means you believe they're definitely going to make, maybe even surpass their career norms. A 10 means they're 100% falling short, maybe way short of their career norms. Do we understand how the calibration of the concernometer works?
Ish. I want, like, would career norms, like kind of what I'm using for that, would be Zips projections. Like, is that fair? Is that like a projection incorporates all their career norms plus their age?
No, projection is some fucking AI, man. This is what I'm talking about. Okay, because we're going to start with this guy. So Luis Arraez's career batting average is .319. He's hitting .283. His career OPS plus is 116. He's at 96. His career OPS is 782. He's at 710. His career OBP is 365. He's at 311. He's down on every number in his career right now. Is he going to get back to that? Is he going to be a 315 hitter by the end of the year?
Yeah.
Or is he
If
going to be way short of that?
concernometer that Luis Arias is going to be short of 315, solid 6. Like I think he could get back there. He's not going to be 360 though, which is what they really wanted him to be.
Okay, a 6 from you.
Yeah.
Rafi says 9. He has a 9. He believes that he's almost positive that this is Luis Arias' worst season of his career, and that he is not going to reach those career norms. I am going to put it at 7. So all of us more think that it's not going to happen than think that it's going to happen for Luis Arias. What I'm seeing is actually a 2+ season pattern of decline for Luis. I'm going to say actually 7.5. I'm going to move it up right as I'm talking. I'm pretty sure Luis Arias is going to put up the worst season of his career and is going to not be a Padre next year as a result. And the reason for that is because he's swinging outside the zone for over 2 seasons now, more than he ever has, but he's doing less damage inside the zone than he ever has. And I've got this for you too. This is I told you I had a thing queued up on Luis.
Okay.
And it ties into what we were talking about before, because you want Luis Arias to focus on what? Hitting line drives, right?
Yes.
Hitting line drives. In Luis Arias' career, he, and hang on, let me get the total number as well. So, I mean, we're talking about thousands of at-bats now in his career, 2,935 at-bats. Okay, so almost 3,000 at-bats in his career. 823 times he's had a plate appearance end in a line drive. That's the second most filled bucket of his career. And of course, on those line drives in his career, he's hitting .647 with a 1434 on base percentage, or OPS, I mean. So when Luis Arias hits line drives, he's an absolute monster. Now, of course, what would be the thing that he does the very most?
Pops out to shortstop / left field.
No, ground ball. Right? Luis Arias gets more than anything, he hits a ground ball. And that's
42% of the time this year.
Yeah, and that's been the most in his career. 1,166 plate appearances have ended in a ground ball, and he's hit .250 in those plate appearances. But of course, the thing you don't want Luis Arias to do is hit a fly ball.
Yes.
And in his career, 758 appearances, fewer than the line drives, right? Almost 100 fewer than the line drives. 758 appearances have ended in a fly ball, and in those at-bats in his career, he's hit 146 with a 482 OPS. Martin Maldonado, right? Now, this year, Luis Arias has more fly balls than line drives. This year, Luis Arias has 90 plate appearances that ended in a fly ball and 88 that ended in a line drive. And in the appearances where it ended in a fly ball, he's hitting .092, not 146, .092. And that includes all 4 of his homers, okay? So don't think I'm leaving those out.
Sure.
In the line drives, he's actually hitting 100+ points lower than normal. He's hitting 545 instead of 646. But he's only got 88 of those compared to 90 fly balls. And he's got the 126 ground balls with the 238 average, which is right around what it's been for his career. But he's hit more fly balls than ever this season. And I don't know if he's going to fix it. I don't know if in the last 60 games he's going to be a line drive wizard. But what he's done is he's turned himself, Chris, from a uniquely interesting and sort of useful player in baseball to a almost completely useless player that just looks like a good player. He masquerades as a good player because he does get some hits, but in reality, he's actively hurting your team, this version of Luis Arraez.
Well, it would have been a lot easier with the F4 argument because he's underwater from a value standpoint this year. Actually a negative value player when he was projected for 2 wins. I'm not going to change my answer. I still think the dude can go on a hot streak with fairly minimal adjustments on his part. We're looking at a little bit different data because Savant and the spot track, the Savant and the Gamecast data has him at a fly ball rate of 24%, and his line drive a little bit higher than that. But the thing that I like when you answered my first impression was popping up to shortstop and left field. It turns out he is doing that more than he ever has. He's doing that almost 30% of the time. Last year it was 23%, year before 22.6, year before 24%. So he's got about a 20% increase in that opposite field in the air percentage. And I don't see him doing a lot of gappers in between the left fielder and center fielder. That's not happening. What's happening is they're cans of corn to the shortstop and left fielder. But the thing is, the dude is such a savant, not to use that word again in a different context, but which I am, about hitting, that I feel like it just takes him doing one thing to get around the ball a little bit more, changing his swing plane or adjustment, and I feel like he can do it. I'm not giving up on Arraez being a useful guy somewhere in the lineup. I've gave up long ago of him being useful hitting 1, 2, or 3.
All right. So again, it was a 6, a 9, and a 7.5. 7.5. I raised it up.
Okay.
This one should be really easy and quick. Manny Machado is a career 280 hitter who's hitting 297. He's got a career on base percentage of 339, which he's over by almost 20 points. He's at 357. And he's hitting almost exactly his career slug. It's at 486 for the season, 488 for his career. So your concernometer that Manny will meet or surpass his career norms when he's already surpassing them.
1.
And Rafi checked in a 2, and I'll go with a 1.
Yeah. Easy.
Manny's not the problem. Now, he might turn into the problem a month from now, but he's not the problem. And he probably won't be the problem a month from now either. So
he's going to have rust stretches, but we're talking about a guy with an expecting batting average of 301 right now, right in line with what he's done his entire career. Matter of fact, his best year as a Padre since his MVP 3 season. So not worried about Manny at all. And frankly, we've missed him at third base a couple times the past few games, especially today. Missed him at third base big time.
Okay. To Jackson Merrill, who's got the youngest career of all, just 747 career at bats. And this is kind of a tricky one. He's hitting 301.
Quite the expectation.
Yeah, he's hitting 301 for the season right now. His career average is 295. His on-base percentage is 354 right now. His career is 333. His slugging is down about 30 points, 461 to 490. Because of that, his OPS is down 8 points. But his OPS plus is almost exactly the same as it was for his career, which means last year, 125 to 127. But undisputably, the power is down for Jackson Merrill. At this time last year, he had 12 homers. And at this time this year, he has 5. So what's your concernometer that at the end of the year, Jackson's going to be able to meet his career norms?
And his career norm being 24 home runs?
I mean, it's what he did last year. I mean, that aspect, but it's across the board.
See, that's where it's tough. I feel like he's already shown an improvement in his eye, like taking the walk. His walk rate's way better this year. And that's going to help him with the on-base percentage. But if I focus it, and my number changes big time if we're talking about slug or if we're talking about OPS, because the on-base is going to help it. Right now, he's slugging 50 points lower than he did last year. And if you're talking about my concernometer about him slugging 500 again, it's at a 9, because I don't think he's going to do it with the injuries and not being able to get into a rhythm this season. And that's not who we were told he was. When he was a prospect, when he was one of the top prospects in baseball, we were told his ceiling for power was about 10, 15 home runs. And then he came out and had that amazing rookie campaign with the Merrill Madness, the walk-offs, and the clutch moments. And I don't expect that from him going forward in his career. So my concernometer for that slug meeting last year would be really high. But altogether, the concernometer is supposed to measure our anxiety. And my anxiety over Jackson being a productive player is very low. So matching the OPS of 826, I'll put it at a solid 4, just because he's has a little bit of an uphill road to it, and he keeps having bad slides, and he had the injury from earlier in the year. So, and sometimes that's just how years go, and you never get into a rhythm, and maybe that could be him. But 4. What about you?
I think you've hit a good number. I was going to say 4.5. Yeah, and Rafi wrote in 6, but and he wrote in 6, but he put next to it mainly for the slug. I think that Jackson may come up with 50% of his home run total from last year this year. He may finish with 12 homers. Now, he might go and hit 7 in a week, just like he did last June. That shut all of us up who were talking about what we thought he would do or could do. Maybe he'll do that. But until he does it, he hasn't done it. And for a while, he hasn't done it. So it's fair to ask. It's not unfair. It's fair to ask. So I'm going to put it just around where you did, like 4.5. I think it's tough. It's tough unless you're an absolute superstar. It's pretty tough to come in, have a year like you did in year 1, and then back it up with a better year in year 2. That's amazing. And that's unbelievable.
The thing that stuns me about the thing that stuns me about Jackson Merrill's stat line this year is the 1 stolen base. I thought that was going to be a much bigger facet of his game than it's been.
Well, that's the whole thing. So Jackson's done a lot of things good, but on the 5-tool level, his power has declined and his speed has declined. So when you're still hitting for an average and getting on some and playing good defense and being a great teammate and doing all those things, being a player who hates to lose, loves to win, hates to lose, those are all the things we love about Jackson. If he's not contributing the same power and speed as he used to, obviously he's not at the exact same tier that he used to be. So I think our numbers are fair. They're very middling for Jackson, but they're fair. Okay, let's go to the biggest enigma of them all, Fernando Tatis Jr. And I'm going to put Rafi's first because Rafi put a 2. So Rafi is not concerned at all that Fernando Tatis Jr. will get to his career norms by the end of this season. What say you?
And just to establish his career norms, that's about 24 home runs on the year. It's hard with the 2020 season because it should have been much more. So is his career norm 25? I'm just hard to try to figure out.
Let's look at the instead of, you got to look at it by rate because of all the time he's missed. He's a unique case, right? How many full seasons has Fernando had? But he's hitting 257 right now. He's a career 276 hitter. He's on base is almost equal, 350 to 346. His slugging is way down. Career slugging is 522. Used to be 600, by the way. It's driven way down from 2021, but 522 career slugging. He's at 446. He's 70-ish, 75-ish points underwater on that, which means his OPS is around the same thing. It's about 19 points. Almost 100 points underwater. 792 to 871. About 78 points underwater. So 79 points underwater. So is he going to get OPS plus 119 to 137? So instead of the raw stats, although we did chat with that for Jackson a little bit, it's more like the rates for me for Fernando. What's your concernometer?
It's tough, man, because you got to go at like pre-wrist surgery, post-wrist surgery Nando. Like they're two different players, like you pointed out. His slug was consistently near 600 back then, and it's been near 500, but always below it since. But then again, the first month of the season, he was blowing all of that out of the water. My concernometer is a 4 because Fernando has proven throughout his career to be a tinkerer. He's been somebody who does not bring consistency into his approach, much at all. But his athleticism, his gifts that the game has given him, allow him to overcome that. And he's played better recently. I know it doesn't feel like that. I know the statistics don't quite bear it out, but his rolling ex-WOBA, last 100 plate appearances is back to around 400 where it was at the beginning of the season. And his sliders are dark red still, 3 months into the year. So I think Fernando is going to still have an incredibly hot 3 to 5 week stretch. Oh my God, there's so many spiders on my microphone. Sorry to just terrify everybody. I just found a web with no shit 7 spiders on it, and I'm gonna mute myself for a moment. My concernometer about these spiders is a fucking 10.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna take those down while you give us your reasons. Oh my God, they're moving. I'll be back.
Okay. Again, I'm kind of staying to some similar things. But one thing that I was looking forward to was for Fernando to get this season turned around in June. Because historically, Fernando Tatis Jr. has been dynamite in June. A career OPS of 993, career average of 316 in 118 games in June. This year in June, he hit 231 with 2 homers and a 704 OPS. I was willing to give him May for the hit by pitch, for playing through injury, developing bad habits. June has been a real disappointment for Fernando Tatis Jr. And in reality, he played 29 incredible MVP level games, and he's played 51 games since that, hitting around 215. And that's horrifically bad. That's the worst Fernando we've ever seen. It's not, oh no, Fernando's struggling. This is the worst we've ever seen. I've never seen him look this down since 2021. I've never seen him look this lost since 2021. End of the year arguing with Manny. Flailing at everything.
Sure.
My concernometer is going to be the highest of the group. Mine is going to be 7. I am more thinking that Fernando is just going to have this really disappointing year than I am that he's going to blow things open and have a post All-Star break MVP run. Now, I'd love for him, obviously. These aren't hopes. These are concerns. So my concern meter is at 7. My hope meter is at 50 out of 10 that he'll turn it around, because this team's not going to go nowhere ever in the Fernando era if Fernando isn't a big part of it.
I gotta take Fernando, because like I said, I've looked into a lot of his struggles and like the slide step, the big swing, the little swing, putting it opposite field, trying to pull it for power. And I apply this through my own experience and my own lens. I think Fernando is a little afraid of the baseball because he keeps getting hit with it. He doesn't want to suffer a season-ending injury to one of these fastballs on his hands. And I think that's what has been in his head the past couple months. And I think that is starting to go away. Like, I see him taking a little bit more aggressive strides, trying to protect the outer third. So mine's low because out of, maybe not performance the past month, but I know exactly what you mean when you talk about him being down and, seemingly bummed out, because that's a huge thing for our guy, and it always has been. But I've seen positive signs recently, so I'm going to stick where I was to feel good about it.
All right, last one maybe generates a little bit of conversation, but I think it's also generally easy, but kind of in the other way, which is Xander Bogaerts, because, it's almost unfair now to compare Xander Bogaerts to his Boston self. I don't know that we'll ever see that. My concernometer that Xander Bogaerts will return to his Boston self is 10.9. I don't think we'll ever even come to anything close to his Boston self. I think we've gotten the reduced Hyundai version of Xander Bogaerts, and we always will.
He feels a bit like global warming at this point in that, yeah, you can be concerned about it. It is what it is, brah. Like, try not to move too close to the beach.
I guess and of course, as such, Rafi put in a 10 for Xander Bogaerts. So here, just for the two of us, let me do this. Concernometer that Xander Bogaerts will get back to his 2023 self. The first year with the Padres, 285, 350, 440, 790 OPS. He's at 244, 322, 339, 661 right now, but he has hit over 300 for the last 2 weeks.
Yes, that rolling ex-Woba looking good too. Hitting a home run, hitting jacks, Craig. That's what Xander Bogaerts is about. He's about the jacks. I'm going to be definitely the lowest because I'm number one. All we need Xander to do is stay healthy, play a solid shortstop. He's played well defensively. He's played better than we expected defensively. I mean, he's put up 5 outs above average already this year, and that's in this conversation too. Because I need it to be in order to not have a 10. Xander I'm putting him right there with Tatis. Like, I feel like he can get to 2023. I think he's shown some stretches this year where he was locked in, where he's pretty capable of getting that OPS well above 7 and being a valuable contributing member of the lineup. I feel like he can do it. I know we saw some real down and out of Xander, and you talk about having a bummed out attitude. I think he looked like the most bummed out Padre in recent history at times this year, and I feel like he's turned a little bit of a corner on that. So I give me the Bogaerts Bloomer t-shirt, because that's where I'm at.
Okay. So to be clear, for him to get to his career norms, we all agree is a 10. But to get to 2023, you think you're 4, you're optimistic. And I will put it at definitely not a 10. So I'll put it at a 9.9. And I will leave that 0.1 that Xander can get back to what he was in his first year. I don't even know if Xander's not going to go on the injured list for a month and a half, coming up with a sore shoulder.
True. He's beat up. The shoulder, the cramping. Yeah. And I do think Manny, too, needs the All-Star break. I feel like these guys are a little worn down. I know Manny's probably going to play in the game, but it's still a rest from playing every game, every single day like they have been. The guys are run down.
Yeah. Well, maybe these concernometers are run down too. Maybe the concernometer is run
tired.
down. And so it's spitting out high numbers. It can't spin with a centrifugal force to deliver the low numbers that we want because it's tired concernometer.
What's your concernometer about Bryce Johnson and 556?
Guy is crushing it.
BABIP, baby. Bryce Johnson needs his name said this episode 100%.
The revelation, Bryce Johnson. You know who else needs his name?
Stephen Kolek of the outfield.
Yeah. You know who else needs his name mentioned? Milan Olosky. 4 goals and an assist. Let's go. This week should be man of the match for the week. I don't even care that he doesn't play baseball. He's been so good for STFC. He deserves mentions in Crosspot. I should put him on the next Crossing Streams as a top recommendation on Apple TV Plus. Like, this kid's been so good. Again, I just want to put some positivity in there after we had to go through Xander Bogaerts. That's it. Concernometer put away. Until next week.
Yeah, back in the box.
Please, Padres. Keep hanging on. Keep hanging on. Keep us on the edge of our seat. Just please don't fall off the cliff. Please. I'm not going to ask for thriving right now. all we need surviving. So let's keep surviving. Chris, great work. Rafi, hope you're good out there. And
Great work
I'm
for
Craig.
Rafi too.
Yeah. Concernometer
You are
on
Craig.
Rafi? Like 1.0. Yeah, nothing. Living his best life. Raging, moving forward. All right. He's not there, but Chris is. So I'm Craig. Thank you. If you've gotten to the end of the show and you haven't given us a 5-star review, or if you're on YouTube and you haven't clicked that thumbs up button, can you give us that second to do that on the way out? Thank you. Subscribe to the show if you have not. Kind written review, always appreciated on podcast platforms. Go Padres.
Go.